I want to talk to you about retractable leashes. Sometimes we go Flexi Leash, there's a couple other manufacturers who make them. I think this is an amazing training tool, and I think every obedience trainer and people who are doing basic dog training should use this as a training tool, but it should not be used to walk your dog. Nothing makes me as upset or I see as dangerous as when people are walking their dogs in a Flexi Leash and they cannot control their dogs. That being said, that remember, your dog will walk at the end of whatever length leash you give him. So if you have a 3-foot leash, the dog will walk at the end of that 3-foot leash. If it's a 6-foot leash, a 9-foot leash, or a 20-foot leash like a Flexi Lead, the dog will walk at the end of that unless he knows how to stay next to you. You will never teach your dog to stay with you, and you'll never give your dog any freedom by putting him at the end of a Flexi Leash. He's going to use that distance, and he'll still be confined at that 10, 15, 20 feet. These leashes are great for doing some basic dog training, but they're extremely dangerous, especially the cord type ones like this, which were all the original ones, and later companies started making tape or banded type flexis or retractable leashes that became a lot less dangerous. People have lost fingers, people have gotten severe cuts on their legs, their arms, and everything, because when the dog takes off, people don't understand to push this button, which will then lock the leash. What they simply do when the dog takes off is they panic. And as soon as they panic, they grab this. And sometimes they'll even grab it like this. And then I'm going to show you a quick clip of what happens when you grab this and your dog starts to take off after another dog, a ball, a squirrel, a bird, or anything. It's a complete nightmare, and it can be devastating. It can be super, super dangerous. You can get your fingers caught in it, you can get your legs caught in it, you could get your arm caught in it, or your dog could get their leg caught in it, and another dog could get caught in it. You can have a complete disaster with your dog, with another dog, or with yourself. So I do not recommend using these as a tool for a dog walk, especially not a dog walker. I don't encourage you to use them to just take your dog for a casual stroll. We use them a lot for teaching solid recalls. We use them a lot to keep our dogs from getting away from us once we understand how to use this. The tool has several different options. One, it has a cord that'll go out to whatever the distance is on it, and that distance is going to depend on what you bought. Some are 10 foot, some are 20 foot, some are 30 foot. The thing that's important to understand when you're using this is do not ever put your hand on the cord to stop the dog. It will not stop the dog. It's only going to shred your hand. I'm going to show you that clip again. The way to get the dog to stop is to push this button. And if the dog is going, and then I push this button, it locks here. And here, you can lock the lock, so now you don't even need your finger on it, and the dog can stay at this distance. This is when the problems happen. So the person will have their dog locked at this, let's say 8 feet, and the dog goes to run away and they're trying to bring the dog back. That's when the person grabs this part of the leash and they start to yank the dog towards them. The dog is stronger than the meat on your finger and this tiny line. So when I do this and I try to bring my dog in, this starts to go through my finger, just like it'll slice through that piece of steak I showed you, and you're going to have a severe cut on your finger. I don't think the banded ones are that much better. I think you can still have damage. There's a lot less risk of it. But again, this is a tool used for training. It's only used for training, and it's something you should consider using for building a solid recall on your dog. It's not a casual walk tool. It should never be used for a casual walk because you're going to have a problem with your dog. So when your dog is on a Flexi Leash, training, training, training only. And if you happen to make the mistake of taking your dog for a walk, or you're in a training situation and you're using one of these, you're better off to let this go and let your dog go than to try to stop him here, because this will be a complete disaster. You won't get your dog and you're going to get severe injuries. So the Flexi Leash has many good sides if you're going to use it for training your dog, but there's an inherent risk of injury, of fatal injury, even if this gets caught around a dog's throat, which I've seen it happen. The dog is running. This gets wrapped around their throat. It's so small, there's nothing they can do about it. And then you start pulling. You could slice your dog's throat. I'm not saying I've ever seen a dog killed by it, but I've seen this get caught around dogs' legs, requiring stitches. I've seen it caught around the dog's side, requiring stitches. I've seen it caught around dogs' necks, never killing the dog, but there's severe injuries that can happen when you're using a retractable leash. I don't recommend them for casual dog walking. They're not a good tool for that. They're a great training tool. I can stress that over and over and over again. One thing you'll always see is people walking small dogs on flexi leashes because they want to give them more freedom. The problem with that freedom is it can cause a big problem when a big dog comes around. So a little dog running around very erratically on the end of a flexi leash is like a lure at the end of a fishing pole. So if the bigger dog that comes by has a high degree of prey drive and your little dog is running around, at the end of this leash, the big dog won't see you with that little dog, but will see him flopping around in front of you and may go for that dog. Another issue you may have with this leash, and you'll see it in the video, is if the dog is at the end of this leash and I lock, I'm going to actually show you a quick example of how this would look. So, goofy Platz, aus. Now I've got pretty strong hands, but I'm going to show you something. I'm going to hold this here, and generally this is not held as strongly as a leash, but I've got this, right? So when I'm going to show you what happens when my dog runs away from me while I'm holding this. Let's keep the camera on me. I'm going to show you. I've got this. I'm pretty strong, but watch. It gets out of my hand. Now this time I'm going to have the camera follow my dog, and I'm going to show you what that picture looks like. And this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something that's really interesting. I'm going to lock this out about here, and I'm going to throw the ball that way. And watch what happens. And we're going to keep the camera on the dog. Watch. Do you see that leash chasing the dog? Do you see it flopping around behind him? Now, here's something really important. If you have a dog that gets spooked easily, and you have him at the end of this leash, and God forbid you have it locked and the dog pulls the leash out of your hand, and this thing is banging around behind him on a street, he's going to think that's chasing him, and he's going to run away from you, and you're never going to get him back. The spook factor of this plastic thing banging around on the sidewalk behind your dog makes him think he's being chased, and he'll continue to run, and it'll definitely spook him enough to probably run into the street and get hit by a car. So, a lot of great reasons to use a retractable leash. Walking your dog ain't one of them. Please, don't walk your dog. Share this video with people you know who think these are a great idea for walking their dogs. I'm not encouraging you not to buy one. I'm just encouraging you to keep your dog safe and not put your dog in a situation where they could get hurt, where you could get severely injured, or God forbid, where your dog can get killed by using a tool that's not proper for walking your dog.